Welcome back, friends. That was Shameless, Art of Disability. We've got David with us. We've got Bonnie with us. Really interested to sort of dig deep into some of this stuff. Okay, it won't be that painful, I promise. So I see David and Bonnie will be around popping in when
Here I am.
Oh, you're there. Okay, I just don't see you
Yeah.
as a square on my screen. So it's probably there.
Start video.
No, that's okay. It's all good.
Am I there?
So, I'm super
I need
curious.
to be lit.
Yeah, it's standing by.
I need to put some light on.
You're on an awfully dark space there, Bonnie. There
Can
we
you put the light
go.
on in here? Yeah, here comes Michael too.
First off, I mean, congratulations. It's a really, really beautifully done documentary. I'm curious for the both. I'm curious for the both of you. When was the last time you saw this?
It's been ages for me. Oh, I'll take my earphones off.
Me too. Long time. Years.
So let's start with Bonnie then. Bonnie, what is it? How does it make you feel to see this piece of work?
It's amazing. I loved it. I thought I wasn't going to watch, but I just loved it. Really, every bit. And I'm amazed at a certain number. First of all, I love the audio description. I never saw the audio description version, and it's brilliant. I have no idea who did it and why I never saw it or heard it, and I love it. But some of the issues, like there's really a preview of the whole discussion going on about MAID, assisted death right now, and the dialogue between Catherine and Persimmon about, because we feel that it's targeting people with disabilities. Yeah, and what are my other notes? Oh, yeah, that's about it.
I think it's awesome that you made notes as you watched your own film. I love it. David, for you, David, what was it like for you watching this for the first time again in years? Bring back memories. What are your thoughts?
I felt so grateful. It was sad to think that Jeff has passed.
Yeah.
And when I presided at his celebration of life, and the place was jammed, and all the people that Jeff had helped and supported and affected were there, and it just was wonderful to see. There are people in Catherine. Oh my God, these are life-changing people.
Yes.
And I also want to just thank Lena Fraticelli and Tracy Friesen and our own beloved Terry Snellgrove for making this happen in the National Film Board. I'm so glad to be Canadian. I was American when this was shot. Now I'm Canadian, just Canadian. I'm citoyen Canadian.
You've come over to the light side, have you?
Yes, I have. So happy. Yeah, so in the memories, the people, the brilliance, I didn't know that I was so good, actually.
I'm curious because Bonnie, in our sort of little pre-show discussion, you had said that you were all friends when this sort of project started. Are you still all friends today? Do you connect with each other? Do you get together over Zoom, go on, dinner, whatever? I don't know. I'm curious about that.
Well, David and Marlena live up the road from me.
No.
From us.
That I knew.
So except
Sunshine Coast.
COVID, our circles keep crossing, and except for the sad loss of Jeff. But you could see some of the articles that were in the guided. You said you took the tour of
what was interesting for me with this film, and the describer doesn't know Jeff McMurtry, but after being involved in the tour, where, so for a little context for those who weren't with us that night when we did the tour, it was after Jeff had died, and they had taken a whole bunch of his work from his home and had assembled it, I guess. And Persimmon had done a lot of work in doing that as well. And so we got to see photos of the inside of Jeff's home, not the one that he lived with in Vancouver, a different home. But when this film goes into his home in Vancouver, I so wanted the describer to tell me about all the things that were in his home, because I just remember our tour when we got to see what was, and it was described to us, all of the, like, the art that Jeff had surrounded himself with, the found objects and the things that he loved, and how he turned those into the most fabulous things. And I don't know how, because it's not my way of approaching art to be able to look at something and go, oh, it's broken, it's dirty, it's whatever. Not that it could be beautiful, right? And so Jeff had this whole other way of looking at things. And I really loved in the documentary here, Bonnie, that we got to see the wings in action, because I've only ever seen those. They were part of the tour, and I've only ever seen photographs of them. And so it was interesting to see how they were sort of an extension of the dancer's body, just like Jeff had described the wings of a bird. And just really sort of very beautifully stunning to witness. So I know we've got Terry with us, and I'm going to just give Terry a moment to maybe, pop in and say hello. And again, a big thanks to the National Film Board of Canada for allowing us to share this film tonight. It's really, really great as an artist with a disability myself to be able to have access to this kind of art. Hi, Terry, welcome.
Hi, Amy.
The impromptu
David, Bonnie,
spontaneous
Michael.
joining. Terry, for those on the call who don't know you, what is your involvement in this piece?
Oh, well, so that's a great question. And first of all, I want to say on behalf of the National Film Board of Canada, thank you all so much for being here. And thank you, VocalEye, for all the amazing work that you do. Amy, Steph, Rick, everyone else. You are all
Thanks, Terry.
Truly inspiring, amazing. I know inspiring maybe is a dodgy word, but you know what I mean. Because community engagement is of utmost importance to the NFB. And 15 years after the making of Shameless, I am so thrilled to be here because it's still such a beautiful and relevant film. And I haven't seen it in years either. Sorry, I forget what your question was.
So, okay, now I've got two questions, because now they're just lining up. So first off, tell us your involvement with the making of the documentary.
Okay.
And now I want to know what your experience was, as well as witnessing this after many years of not having it in your life.
Okay, so my involvement with the making of the documentary, I mean, this documentary was definitely a stepping stone for me in my professional development, because I had worked as a production assistant at the NFB, and it was Bonnie Klein, my beloved friend and brilliant mentor, who fought for me to step up and be her assistant on this project. And so Bonnie was really looking for somebody who could do a lot of everything, right? Somebody who could deal with lunch, somebody who could keep production moving forward if Bonnie needed to lay down, somebody who could deal with, do you guys remember when there was that BC Ferry strike and we were supposed to have a pajama, we were supposed to originally do a shoot in Roberts Creek and we couldn't get there. And it was December, and I remember phoning caterers. It was like December 10th or something, saying, hi, 3 minutes before the day. I'm wondering if you could cater this shoot. And people were basically laughing at me, saying, lady, it's almost Christmas. What are you doing? Do you remember all that? And the anxiety around what was going to happen if the BC Ferry strike happened, and it did. Yeah, and anyway, everything all worked out. So it was just a real privilege to work on this and to see it after 15, I guess probably the last time I saw it would have been about 10 years ago. I think Bonnie and Dave have aged beautifully. And I just look at all my gray and I'm like, oh my God, not so much. But it's still powerful. Like it still carries such an important message, right? And it's still, in terms of shedding a light on people's lives, it's beautiful. And this group of friends, and I don't know, I love this documentary.
I have to ask, because right at the very top of the documentary, and we've got a couple of hands raised, and friends from our audience, if you have questions, use that raise your hand function and I will call on you all in a moment. I just at the very top, when you gather to have your little film screening night, and you're playing, I'm going to refer to it as ableist bingo. I had such a deep belly laugh around that, because the last time I had seen, I don't know if anybody knows this, but over Valentine's Day and over the holidays, Hallmark has this, like, I don't know, this romantic romance bingo. And so you watch all the Hallmark movies and you get your bingo card and you dab it when it's like, you know, a kiss or whatever it is. But I want a copy of this ableist bingo. And I think we should be using that with just about every film that we see, which I mean, I hate to say it today, but there are so many films where there's so much ableism and bias, and we don't say anything about it. We just let it go. Anyways, I thought that was super interesting and a really fun piece of the documentary. And I've got 3 hands, so I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to welcome Tilo and Yuko, and then we'll be Misha's on standby and Megan's on standby. So Tilo and Yuko.
Hello, this is Tilo.
Hello, Tilo.
I have a question. How long did it take to do this film? And also I was wondering, was there only one camera person with you or were there more?
Good question.
Okay, well, it was shot with single camera. I think the whole thing, but maybe the Kickstart Festival we had a second one. But we had several depending on when we were on different locations, when I was following artists to their own place, we would have had sometime a local.
Did it take months to do, or?
Terry would know better.
Yeah, it was, I would say from the time I came on, the project was in development. I think it was probably a good 2 years before we finished.
With editing.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I was saying this is because about 8 years ago, my family had a opportunity to have a documentary about us, and it was more or less about motherhood, but the cameraman followed us off and on for 5 months. And then because he did everything himself, he was independent. It took 1.5 years, maybe 2 years from beginning to end to finish. That's why I was interested.
Yeah, great question, Tilo. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a pretty, like, 2 years is not, I think it's different when it comes to television. You know, when people will commission something and it usually has to be done within a calendar year from beginning to end. But with an organization like the National Film Board, we really take our time through development and production and post-production, et cetera. So 2 years is actually pretty short. I've worked on films that take like 4 years.
Yeah, I know he got some type of grant to do his films and that, but he was very meticulous, and he because he's retired, he's doing these films on his own. He used to work for CBC French station, and he also did a little bit of filming with a cameraman for 60 Minutes. So that's what got me to think that, okay, he's professional. Okay, I will allow him to film us in that. But it was kind of an interesting process. But during some of the process and that, because he had asked us to do something over again and we couldn't remember, sometimes we got tired of him and we got kind of, I would say, not happy with him, to be nice.
A little frustrated?
Frustrated, yeah. Yeah.
It's always about getting
I'll
that
do it.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to mention that I think there was 120 hours of raw footage that had to be cut down to 71 minutes. So that is pretty impressive how that was done.
Yeah, I don't know how long he had it, but he had it down to the film was 57 minutes and 3 minutes of credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta learn to kill your darlings a little bit, right?
Yeah. And
thanks.
there were some things he did, and it never did get on. So
Yeah, that's fairly standard.
it's very
Always
standard
better to
for a
have
film.
more footage than not enough footage.
That's right. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Tilo.
You're welcome.
We've got a hand from
And
Misha.
Sorry, and the film was called Touching Life, if anybody was wondering what it was called.
Amy,
Touching
sorry
life,
to
thank you.
interrupt. I know Bonnie's been trying to, I think, say something for, have you?
Oh, I was just going to pipe in that if independent filmmakers have to raise their own money for a film, that's where it could be anywhere from 2 years to 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the film board was ready to do this is huge. And the other thing I wanted to say is I hadn't made a film in 18 years when I began this. So
Wow.
the title of assistant director was more like, lifesaver.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to Misha, Megan, and then Julia.
Hello, this is Misha. Am I being heard?
You are.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to thank you, Bonnie and David, and also Terry for producing this work. I didn't know about it until today when Penny Hall sent out an email to some of my nonviolent communication folks. And so I'm really happy to discover it. I would like to say, avoiding the use of the inspirational word, that I personally found this empowering as a person living with multiple disabilities. Part of it is the inclusion of the authenticity and the moments of, this is how I'm feeling, but doggone it, I really don't want to feel that way, or whatever. And the peeks into the the ways of coping, and then right beside it, the peek to the inner, deeper layers.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of what I found empowering about this is that it models for me in multiple ways, including through the dignity of people's presentation of their authentic lives, that as a disabled person, I need not conform to ableist stereotypes such as the happy, well-adjusted disabled person, nor do I have to conform to a disability more of a political orientation, a disability rights activist as part of a group type of orientation that can include, now I have to portray myself in a different way that's also a limitation. And that I often find is a reactive stance. So it's still shaped by the ableism. But rather, I can carve my own way from the dignity of self-definition that integrates and incorporates the fact of my disability as an inextricable part of my life experience. So thank you for modeling all of that. And I also appreciated, just one last quick comment, the inclusion of the idea of the right to choose when death is appropriate for a person within their own self-definition. And that we have a different perspective on that than people who don't live this from the inside. Thank you.
There's a lot of big, heavy discussions happening right now on just exactly those things that you're talking about, Misha. And what it does for me is reminds me how relevant, even though this is 2006, how relevant, how we're still talking about these things. I'll give Bonnie and David and then Terry just a chance to respond if you'd like to respond to what Misha said, because I think for me that's like, you know, this is still very, it's work that is so essential, and we just need to keep creating this work. If we don't create it, people forget we exist, truly and sadly, right? Bonnie, what do you think about what Misha had to say? How does that impact you?
Yeah, no, I'm very, very much. Yeah.
David, what about yourself?
I have nothing to add to what she said. I thought it was very, very appropriate. Yes, I bow to you.
Terry? You're on mute. If you had anything you wanted to say.
Yeah, sorry, I have 2 monitors here, and sometimes moving the cursor is like a major thing. I have nothing to add, but I did want to say, Misha, thank you very much. I think that is exactly the reason this film was made, and the fact that, you know, all these years later, it still resonates is a testament to, obviously, to Bonnie's amazing ability as a filmmaker and storyteller. But thank you.
Nicely said, Terry. Thank you. I'm going to offer Megan an opportunity to ask her question or share her comments.
Okay. I'm Megan. Anyway, I really loved the show. That really was amazing. Like especially how it happened to Catherine. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because I've been there a couple of times. I've been to the hospital a couple of times, and I'm thinking, oh my word, I had that hospital for sometimes, and but anyway, it kind of reminds me of the conferences that I went to, because I went to a disability conference long time ago when I was a teenager, and there were people just like you guys. You know, it made me, kind of brought me back to, you know, like, hey, you know, we're all we're all one family, and we are, you know, we're all in this together, and I am so proud, and I just want to thank you so much for that show. That was so amazing. And one question is, how is Catherine right now?
Thank you for that question. Catherine is wonderful.
Oh, good.
Catherine has led the battle against I forget what it's called, Bill C-10?
C7.
C7.
Yeah, she has I'm losing words because it's late. She has led the response for a coalition of people with disabilities who really don't want, who feel that the C7 targets people with disabilities as specifically being able to request assistance in dying without a definite date of the termination of their lives, because our lives are less worthwhile, because we're seen as so ill that it's not worth living, you know, that kind of stereotype.
Yeah, since the social.
Instead of asking the question, does a person have the social supports to live with dignity with their, whatever their disability is? It's just too easy for society to offer the quote choice of assisted death.
If you were asking, if you were asking the question, has she had any more episodes like that? As far as we know, no, she hasn't. That was a one-off.
Ew.
But
Oh.
she's way outlived the quote life expectancy of people with her illness.
She's kicking butt
Oh.
and taking names.
Yeah.
She's doing for us up here north what was done by advocates, which we'll experience when we watch Crip Camp next week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's we need advocates like this in our space to trailblaze. And if anybody's interested, if anybody here listens to AMI Accessible Media, download the podcast from the Now from Dave Brown show just this Monday. David Lepofsky, who's a blind lawyer out of Toronto, unpacks this discussion around the right to die, but in the context of the coronavirus and what gets to happen when we run out of ventilators, because they're in Ontario, when they run out of ventilators and physicians have to choose between, the 29-year-old able-bodied person and the 60-year-old person with a disability, and what happens when that right to choose is being put into somebody else's hands, right? And the benchmarks. It was a really, really interesting discussion if anybody's interested. I don't want to make this so heavy, folks, though. So thank you, Megan, for your question. Really appreciate
Oh, you're
that.
welcome.
We send Catherine all of our best and kind of wish she was here tonight with us.
Yeah.
Julia, why don't you unmute yourself and ask your question or share your comments?
Thanks very much. And thank you to the gang for doing such an amazing job with this film. And I didn't know anything about it until today either. So it's been a real wonder to follow. I was really taken with all of it, but I was curious, David, about your piece that you did in that festival, and whether or not, because we got to see a little bit of it, but I was kind of curious about whether or not it had a life afterwards, and if it's possible, to find out more about it.
Oh, well, that's a great question. Thank you. First of all, that was a Kickstart Disability Arts Festival, and Kate Blake is the director of Kickstart now in the audience, and Kickstart is part of the legacy that we helped, and especially Jeff helped to create. I also want to mention, by the way, that University of British Columbia, Professor Leslie Roman has started the Wingspan Disability Arts Project, and that is an homage to Jeff McMurtry. So there's so much history here. My show, yeah, it continued. That I did. I have 3 signature shows: the Church of the 80% Sincerity, Catholic Erotica, which I love, which was actually banned in Belfast, and My Face is Acting Up. I did that around the world. I did that around the world in all kinds of places, in the English-speaking world. And, I have thoughts of doing it again. I'm sort of like, I'm not retired, but I'm lazy, okay?
Well, maybe you just earned the right to a rest, but
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they're like written down. Can I take them out of the library or?
Oh, I have a book called The Church of 80% Sincerity. Like Bonnie has a book too, which she will mention in just a moment.
Okay.
The Church of 80% Sincerity, you can get it on Amazon, and hopefully another book is going to come out soon.
Oh,
And
excellent.
Michael has a book too, so he can mention it.
What about your blog, David?
Oh yeah, and I have a blog, David Roche blog. So thank you, Michael, for the encouragement. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. I'll do a little investigating about all of you. So thanks again for all of your wonderful work.
Bonnie, would you like to share what your book is all about?
Oh, you mean my children? I have a children's book. It's called Beep Beep Bubby. Bubby is the Yiddish word for grandmother, and it's for little kids. It's illustrated book, and it's about a bubby in a scooter and the relationship with her grandkids, and her granddaughter's first reaction to the scooter is very negative. She's kind of ashamed, and she thinks that it's the end of her relationship with her bubby and they won't have any fun anymore. And they have a day out and they ride the bus and they meet people in wheelchairs in the park. And when another kid says your grandma is really cool, then she becomes friends with this scooter. Anyway, that's fun.
That sounds precious.
There's one thing I was going to say that people might be interested in, which one of the things I really liked when the film first came out was the reaction of people was often, interestingly, one of kind of jealousy of our camaraderie and our community. So the fact that we are a community, you know, and our humor and our relationships with each other is, you know, something we should value.
Certainly a lot of gifts in the disability community, and it's a real lovely thing when you find your people.
Yeah.
For anybody in any community, but finding your people is like the greatest spot for you to just marinate in. Once you find it, it's beauty, right? It's
Bubby is a disability activist. We should be very clear about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. I think we need to get this in braille books.
The sequel is Beep Beep Bubby solves all the problems of the world.
I love it. Terry, have you got a book too that you want to share, since we're
No, I
I
have no book.
You have a thesis.
But I did recently finish my master's thesis project, which I did as a 3-part podcast series on the NFB and social change. So it's available on SoundCloud. I'm not sure, I've never tried Googling it, but anyway, but I don't have a book.
If you send us links to that, Terry, we can circulate.
Oh, great.
To
I definitely will. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Especially podcasts are quite audibly accessible, so that would be lovely.
This is true. Yes,
it's right up my alley. Folks, time has flown by so very, very fast, especially when we've got 4 people in the squares. Usually we have one guest, and you know, there's a little bit more back and forth, but I value everybody's time as we're closing in on 9 o'clock Pacific. We have a raffle to get to as well, and so I don't know how I eeny meeny miny mo choose between, you know, Bonnie and David and Terry. Anybody want to volunteer to be our raffle caller?
Go for it, Terry.
Me.
David. Okay. The kid in the room really wants. I'm just kidding. David really wants to do it. Awesome. All right, David. So I'm going to bring Steph Kirkland up, who's our executive director and the brains behind this operation. I'm just the front host, and Steph is the brains. And Steph, I'm going to leave David in your hands. Steph's got the names of everybody on the call who identifies with blindness or partial sight. And David, when you feel like Steph has swished those names randomly enough, you just yell out whatever you want to yell out. I'm going to let you choose a word. Stop is good, or anything else is great. So whenever you're ready, yell it out, David.
Oh. 1, 2, 3. Shameless.
Shameless.
Okay. Sharon.
Is Sharon still on the call with us?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful, Sharon.
Congratulations.
You're the winner of our raffle prize tonight. So we don't necessarily know what that prize is, but we're going to communicate with you, you know, to figure out what might be available in the New York area, or how we're going to arrange that.
Stay tuned.
Awesome.
you. Very exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. I recognize it's close to midnight where you are.
Oh,
Um,
that was great fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, with my most sincere thanks, folks, and I know people have had to leave because of time zones and all that kind of great thing, but thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, David. Thank you, Terry, for just spontaneously dropping in. Thank you, Mike, for dropping in. It's wonderful to have you all here and to just share with us this fantastic piece of art. Well, there might be some other things at the National Film Board of Canada that's described that we can maybe share over this platform as well. So have a wonderful evening. Folks, anybody who wants to stick around and just have a little informal chat, we're going to just open the lines and you're welcome to unmute yourself and just chit chat, just informal stuff as we close down our evening.
Hey, I just want to say that Crypt Camp is fantastic.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come back and join us next week if you want to watch Crypt Camp with us. Althea's going to join us as our special guest.
Okay.
So that's totally up to you. All are welcome in this space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amy and Steph and Rick, for everything you do, and Dave and Bonnie, how I love you and how great it was to get to hang out with you this way.
Terry, it's so lovely for you to join us. For those who don't know Terry's voice, because she's been a describer with VocalEye, so it's been a while.
It has. It was that master's degree, the NFB, Amy.
Those darn master's degrees just get in the way of everything, don't they?
They sure do.